Welcome back to episode 80 of the Download Illuvium news. There is so much that has been happening in the Illuvium ecosystem, and by the end of March, this will be a completely different experience. Not only will we maybe even have tournaments for Leviathan, a gauntlet, or things like leaderboard rewards in full swing, but there are going to be so many other updates available that you can be testing out in the Overworld, automated drone runs, and all the rest of it. And really just getting more involved in the ecosystem. We're finally getting to this next point in Illuvium's trajectory, and I'm really excited to see kind of like where this entire thing goes. It's a lot of fun stuff happening right now. I'm not super into Arena at this point in time. I don't know how much you play. I'm looking forward to the weapons and armors, the weapons and suits being integrated in their new systems and forms and stuff like that. Until then, I'm not super pumped, but the new changes are great. It's feeling great and way more stable now, which is really nice. But yeah.
Yeah, I've been playing, believe it or not, I've been playing Arena more now that I'm off the team. Feels like I've got a bit more time. So yeah, no, it's been fun, especially the build on testnet. Like they've made a few more improvements. There's still some things that really just piss me off. Camera angles being one of them. I know it's been something that, like, when I speak to Dick, he says on his screen it's all fine, but I don't know if it's not calibrated properly for ultra wides or what the situation is, but it's just not ideal. And then yeah, like it's just, yeah. But overall, a lot of huge a lot of big things, big wins with the UI, with the snappiness of the game. A lot of it feels much better. There's still some things like health bars. Again, it's heading in the right direction. Just some very, as a player, for me, I'm going to say this as like, when I look at it as a player, there's some very obvious wins that they could make that I think would just lift it to the next level.
It's been quite funny in that way. Is Arena had a bunch of obvious little wins that I had never thought about until they were added in. Things like sound effects and little visual effects and things when you sell a unit on your board. That never even crossed my mind. I don't even think TFT has something like that. Like, I think it's quite simple. They might have a little bit, but I think it's quite simple.
I'm sure they would.
When they added that in, it just actually made such a big difference for me. And I'm like, wow, there's actually a lot. Now it's making me think of even more things that are missing that I hadn't even noticed. Yeah. But it's really good to see a lot of that stuff coming in for sure.
Well, that's the kind of stuff that, like, you've got macro. What I would say is macro game design and micro game design. Macro game design is the mechanics of the game and how everything essentially functionally works. And then you've got the micro game design, which is the aesthetic. Like, how does it feel? A game that I'll talk about all the time is Smash Bros. And in many fighting games, actually, you'll notice that when a character is hit, they'll flash. Like the actual image will go white or something, only for like 2 frames or a frame. It's very, very small, and no one actually notices it. But it's so subconscious that it feels like it feels better. It's just these small things. That's the sound effects. That's these visual effects that you're talking about. There's just small things that are super important for the polish of the game and for a complete feel for the player. So yeah, I wouldn't say that. It's definitely not important, right? Like, it's actually incredibly important. But obviously you need a solid foundation before you start really getting into the tiny details in case you need to do it again.
Yeah, and we've been playing a bunch of Monster Hunter, and they have one of them as well. Because in World they had it, and then for the Monster Hunter Wilds beta, they got rid of it. And people were like, "Where the hell is this feature?" It's called Hit Stop, and basically what it does is when you make contact with the monster with your weapon for like a split second, or probably like barely noticeable amount, the weapon, your character, and everything just like kind of stops and then continues through, which just makes it feel like the weight is so much different. Like, it's like the tiniest code change, which makes a huge difference to the feel of the game in such an unbelievable way. And it's something I love about the game. It just everything feels so weighty, and you can adjust that variable for different weapons too. Like a sword and shield might not be so big, but like a great sword will have a huge hit stop. It's so much fun.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's jump into the announcements. The first one we've got is the huge announcement coming in late in February. Unified fuel testing Overworld Closure and Bug Finder Squad get involved. So the unified fuel proposal, we're not going to go over that too much detail right now, but basically pegged pricing, ADR pricing, overworld pricing, and there's going to be way more rare alluvials in the overworld too. So even though the pricing did increase to a certain extent, instead of finding just one Ramfy in a run, you might find a Ramfire every 10 runs, whatever. Like, they're going to be way more frequent. It's going to be way more exciting when you're actually jumping to that world. I'm looking forward to that. The Arena Gauntlet patch added drone augments when you jump into the game. I'm looking forward to region augments. I think that's going to be big as well. But a bunch of balance changes and things. The drone augments, they've fixed it since then. We'll cover that in a second. But they're a pretty cool start. Whoops.
I don't think they're region augments. I just think that it's a region choice, right?
Region choice, sorry. And then after that, we've got the Gauntlet release notes. That's the same thing, kind of details some of those new features. The auto drone deep dive, so you can see what happens with the auto drone. This is a really cool piece. I'm looking forward to making a video on all of this, breaking down the numbers and stuff like that. It actually has all the odds for how things are calculated regarding the automated drone run. So I'm very, very excited for that. And the Bug Finder Squad, if you're playing games with testnet, submit as much bugs and as many feedback as you possibly can. I had a bit of feedback I submitted a few weeks ago, and I recently just got a tick on my email. They actually looked through the ticket and they said, we really like this feedback. We're putting it through the team, seeing what they think of it and stuff like that. So I thought that was really neat. So it definitely doesn't go unseen. Put through as much feedback, bug reporting, and everything as you possibly can. Okay, the next one we've got is there was a town hall on the 1st of March, this looks like. Unified Fuel and Economic Overhaul Town Hall. This is now live on YouTube. Highly recommend you go and check it out if you haven't already. Perry asked a lot of the major questions, and I think we're going to have even more Perry Town Halls regarding all of this because it's such a huge sweeping change that people have so many questions regarding it. So this is going to be an ongoing thing for a little bit. But yeah, definitely recommend going to check that out. After that, we have the Arena on Sepolia testnet. So all those Arena updates went live on Sepolia. If you haven't tested it out, I played only one game so far. I might play more. I don't know. As I said, I'm kind of waiting for some of those other features. Region selection at a minimum. I'd like to see the carousel and stuff as well, but really I'm waiting for that weapons and suits overhaul, especially for suits. I like weapons in the game as it is, but I don't like suits. And the other thing is something that community has been asking for a long time, so I'm glad it's been implemented, is there's been increased fuel storage on all of your Illuvium Zero plots. You don't need to go update from the App Store or anything, but if you haven't checked it out yet, go and check it out so you get even more fuel storage. For Tier 4, this is particularly noticeable, so go and have a look over there. And the last big announcement we've got is even more updates to the arena. There was some hotfix, but really the big thing was they removed the synergy constraints from all the drone augments. Before it was like all fighter alluvials get 10% extra attack speed or whatever. And now it's just all alluvials get 10% extra attack speed, making it a little bit less limited and a bit more interesting. And they're going to add more unique drone augments in the future, which are going to fix a lot of things. Currently, they're a little bit basic and they're not particularly fun, for lack of a better word, but they're definitely a great step in the right direction. I'm looking forward to some of the future drone augments that they add into the game. TSG's typing is loud.
Oh shit! Sorry.
That's all good. And yeah, highly recommend it. Also, Overworld and automated drone runs are now live for testing in Sepolia. I'm going to make a tutorial on how to get Sepolia testnet.eth. Well, a new tutorial. I've already got one. But basically right here, you can see that the Overworld auto drone run is right here. I can do a hyper run or a charged run. If I unmute it, let's have a look. Go full screen. Oh, it's not going to do it because I'm sharing it. That's crazy. Or it might still do it. I don't know. It automatically selects a region for you. I got confirmation from Kieran in the council meeting today. That V2, which I'm assuming is going to be what's going to be going on mainnet, you'll be able to choose your region. So this random region thing is temporary. We're going into Brightland. Here we go. Oh my god. I forgot how hype the hyper ones are. The Greater Nature Volante. Valura with only 16 purity. Pretty good cling there. I love when it pops up a little new in the corner. None of these are new so far, though. Got the Winx. Huge 76 purity. Really crappy purity on the Fernite, but that's okay. Oh, pulling the
I will say one of the final things I did before I leave was tell them that they needed to include that new thing.
Were they not going to have that?
It wasn't a thing. I said
what?
That was one of the final things. So
nah,
I'm
grateful.
I'm glad to see that. Not being
dead serious. You've got to be messing with me.
Not being dead serious.
That's like the most obvious part of this whole thing.
Well, I'm glad that you think that.
So what I don't know yet, because I haven't like gotten any holos yet from my drone runs, is if you do or don't have a holo, I hope it pops up with a new correctly. Like if you don't have a holo, if you don't have a given thing of a holo, it should pop up with new.
Well, it should say like new holo or new dark holo.
That'd be cool too, for sure. There we go. It does this thing where it says changes you made may not be saved, which is really funny. The one time it doesn't say that is if you click new run. But yeah, so are you looking forward to many of these updates that have been coming through and things like that, or what are you looking forward to the most?
Yeah, Arena. Honestly, just Arena. I want Arena to be like super polished because it is a fun game. I just want it to be a polished game. The unified fuel thing is cool. The drone runs is a really good feature. I do wish that it was here at the beginning. I think we currently have, and I've said this publicly before, that there's just a lot of supply, and this just adds to it. So it's a great feature. Is this what we need right now? Like I said, it should have been there at the beginning, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's Arena and the unified fuel. When everything gets put together, everything is really, like I say, polished for the unified fuel. I know there was a discussion. I'm not sure if you saw it. I don't know too much about it, about the unified fuel, the 89-1. Have you seen that? Yeah, have you seen that conversation?
We'll cover it later in today's
I don't know too much about it, so yeah.
It's a lot of changes, and so people need some time to make sense of it all. And it's one of those things where ideally we don't have to do anything to the fuel, but unfortunately it's a system that didn't work and it needs to be changed. And it's going to be hard for anyone to agree on what that change should be. Like if you got 100 people in a room, they would have 100 different ideas and no one's going to ever get anything done. Yeah. So trusting the team on their judgment for the most part is important, but we should still discuss with the community. And if they come up with proposals where they want to change all the proposal that went through in the emergency proposal, that's cool too. If they have some better ideas and everyone's in favor of it, then we'll go through that as well. And I think that's perfectly fine. So I'm looking forward to it. Okay. So from now, we've got pretty much tons of leaks. Let's get right into it. We've got some stuff from what I'm assuming is the repository, or I'm not going to say the new name for it yet because I don't know if it's public. But that's that. And then we got some new beak animations, which are pretty cool. And we've got this, which I believe is showing off, oh yeah, the new UI treatment. And then this new board treatment is really cool, actually. It's actually really, really nice. Some Wave 4 Illuvatars, Tatapi, a fan favorite, finally coming in, which is really funny because is this not one of the first Illuvatars they actually made and sketched up?
I think so, actually.
I remember they did it on stream like years and years ago. I never even occurred to me that was one of the Illuvatars that never actually came out yet. That's so funny. This is what looks like, I want to assume, Matu. We got, I'm going to say Ace, some sort of Hydrolinks, and I don't even know what this is. Is this Quinks?
I think so, yeah.
Quinks, probably. We got some new leaks from Breach. I'm looking forward to be able to try this out. The game looks pretty meh right now, to be honest. I mean, it looks like fun for like once or twice, but it doesn't have any defining game loops yet or anything like that. This is really cool. The new Battleboard cosmetics. These are some of the coolest. The Battleboard cosmetics are some of the coolest things they've ever made. This is a really nice shot there. It's some really good stuff. I think it looks absolutely great. We've also got some new stuff from Breach. We've also got the new drone animation for when you get hit. This is one of those 1%ers that we were talking about before. I think this is going to go a long way. Like, I hope. All I care about is that they work on the new features and stuff. But at the same time, I think this is going to be a nice addition. So I actually kind of like it. I like how he gets progressively more wrecked. Again, this is the sort of thing they don't have in TFT. And the more ways Illuvium can separate itself, the better, I think, is definitely for sure. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, that's cool. It's just a small little things.
It's so peaceful. I should make this my new the thing behind my camera. I should make this a new one. I should ask for like a custom looping thing or something. Find a specific scene I'd like. All right, we got even more coming. We got this one here where Roger says optimize. Now, I don't have a point of reference for like what the optimization looked like before this, but this is supposed to show that they've optimized the assets really well, so it runs a lot faster and smoother, and lower end PCs can run the game. I'll be able to test all this well. I'll install the game on my Steam Deck. I have it installed on my Steam Deck and on a really crappy laptop, and then on my PC, and I'll be able to test if it actually runs on those two other things, because they don't really run it particularly well right now. My laptop can actually, like, it's serviceable already, which says a lot, but I'll see if the Steam Deck runs it. I'll be able to test what the optimization looks like, but as we can see here, GPU average, each of these assets is like 0.013. So very small amount, or that's just like the main, that's just the Mozart itself. But yeah, they're using up very little GPU. Like all the lightning and stuff is 0.0001 of the GPU. I'm assuming that's a good thing. Again, I have no point of reference, but really 4 Illuvials on the board, times that by 3 or 4, you're barely using any GPU for this. So I don't know where all the power will be coming from, maybe some other elements of the game, but this is really cool to see, and I think it's exciting. I don't know, like, how well do you think it's going to be optimized for lower-end hardware?
By multiples. Like that, I'm not an expert at it, but just if I look at the poly counts for the models, they went down by a dramatic amount. So if that is the case, I can only imagine that should have a pretty drastic impact.
Yeah, I mean, like, polygons aren't the be-all and end-all of game development. Sure, they have an impact. I would say the way you load in things and the way you treat your development setup is probably generally more important.
For sure. And when I'm talking about the polygons, it's not necessarily just the polygons. It's the grooming on top of it, like the textures on top of it. And I think that's a huge thing, because the grooming for us, the textures for us was, and again, I'm not an expert at this. This is just someone that's looking into that department. Yeah, I would imagine that the textures and the like that would have taken a lot, and I think minimizing that would have a pretty big impact.
Yeah, well, I think the rigs on these alluvials are quite heavy. Like, they've got dozens and dozens of bones because they're 4-legged creatures for the most part and stuff. And so the polygons do have to shift more than in typical games where they've got to move around a lot because the animations and things like that. So I think reducing the polygons does lend itself to Illuvium more than a lot of other games. But the textures and things, if they're also being reduced and stuff like that, and the animations maybe being slightly simplified, I think that'll really go a long way. Winnie asks how you're going, Taryn, and he asked how Rich is going for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know why he thought you were rich.
I look like Rich. What are you talking about?
Makes sense.
This lake is really nice. I don't know exactly what we're looking at. It looks like some sort of breach level, but I like the idea that you're jumping between these platforms. I don't know if you're doing that mid-fight or what. But
it's quite funny. Mid-fight, yeah.
I love it. And that's from the other angle. That's the same shot. I love it. I love these new levels that they're making. I do wonder how long it takes them to make a level like that, because it's really curious to me. But yeah. Okay. So we can also see that the breach has 4 players enabled in it. I do wonder how far they can push that. I would love to see like 5, 6 players jumping into a breach match. I don't know how practical that would be from a gameplay perspective, but it would be fun to see. All right. The next thing is we've got one of these new creatures from behind. I think the way they glow and the different colors and things like that, you'll be able to see a lot of that on Going Hyper. It's really, really neat. We got the new mantis crab thing. People are frothing over this model. I think it's nice. It's not as nice as any of the alluvials, but at the same time, it's not really supposed to be. But I really like how unique they are. None of these, like, Grant was always very obsessed with the eyes of alluvials, and that you could, like, they really made an alluvial character feel super AAA. And I couldn't help but notice that these creatures, none of them have eyes. And I kind of hope that factors into the lore of Illuvium. I think that'd be really cool. But I like the idea of that eyes are kind of like telling the difference between good and evil. Even the Leviathans, I don't think they have eyes or very visible eyes. But they're very small or very hard to see, right?
I think so. I don't know. I'm not going to say definitively.
Whereas all the alluvials have giant eyes. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. They're a pretty big part of their alluvial models.
It's not something that I noticed, actually.
Well, I noticed that all those creatures don't have eyes at all.
For sure. That
stands out like nothing. Yeah. All right. I also really love this new screen. Rich posted this one for us. He received it from Roger or whatever. You can change your Illuvitar on the fly, which is really
just
cool.
hope that with the Illuvitars, they allow a favorite. Because right now with the Illuvitars, they've shown just a little bit, and we know how many Illuvitars we actually have. And so that could become clunky very quickly. I hope that they have a favoriting system or something like that. I think I saw some filters, which was helpful. But I think a favorite mechanic that would be really good, because people like Kieran, who has God knows how many tens of thousands of Illuvitars, that's just going to be a pain.
Well, you could search.
Yeah,
you could search.
I know. But again, a little favorite thing would be good there. So if you've got 5 or 10 that are your absolute favorites, you can favorite them, and always have that there ready to go rather than searching them.
But anything that starts taking all of this stuff out of the website and putting it directly into the client is a huge win for the game. The last thing we need is for people to jump into this client for the first time, especially if they're coming from like a TFT audience or something like that, and then just have to start going to the website to try and understand what the hell's going on. The more stuff is in this client, the better. And I hope they add in tutorials and things like that as well in the near future. But this is going to go a long way. I'm looking forward to
the shop. Or I don't know if that's if that's something that is just for the game or the marketplace, that needs to be integrated somehow into the client. Whether it's like on Steam, how they just have a little pop up while you're still in the game, and it overlays. But opening up a browser, a separate browser, is that we need to get away from that.
You can actually have it where you don't have IMX transactions, but it's like a workaround. You're not really supposed to do it. And it's kind of like actually like an exploit in the IMX system. But with ZK EVM, it is built in. So if we were on ZK EVM or maybe a different chain, you would actually be able to abstract away all of those signatures and actually put the full thing inside the game properly. And that'd be one of the key reasons to actually jump into ZK EVM for Illuvium for sure. Hey, Reem, how's it going? Hey, Sam. All right, the next one is so Kieran talking about how there's no longer fuel transferring between Illuvium 0 and the Overworld. This was the part of the unified fuel proposals and all the sweeping changes that came with that and stuff like that. But you can still use your fuel in the Overworld. You just essentially have to burn your fuel, get the Ethereum, and use that for the Overworld. A little bit annoying, and I'm looking for ways where we can obfuscate that away cheaply and quickly, so we don't take too many dev resources. But it's seeming a little bit difficult. Yes, Immutable is definitely a relic, and a tumor on the face of Illuvium is not really understated, to be quite frank. We're not in a demo build. We were just looking at some leaks. Very cool. I think that was just on Figma, though. I don't think that's actually integrated in the game yet, but they were just sorting out some wireframes. So the other thing is, Kieran has said here that we haven't focused on bringing any new players to either arena mode for over 6 months. We will start marketing from the next month. And yes, there'll be a large focus on Leviathan. To get people to Leviathan, though, we need people playing the free-to-play version first. Once they like the game, we could slowly push them to purchase assets or play the Overworld to build their team. Looking forward to see how this shakes out. I'm not sure the game is quite ready for end of this month, Leviathan, to be honest. But at the same time, with ADR and stuff, it's important to really kick off that flywheel so that we can actually see if it's going to work or not. Oh, I got the same thing twice. All right. We've got something from Jeremy here. Unfortunately, this is a little bit of a downside of all this. Jeremy says that it took 3 months to actually develop all these fuel changes and proposal and everything like that, because the same team that works on this stuff was forced to go and work on updates and fixes to Illuvium Beyond over that time. And the council's currently speaking about delaying Illuvium Beyond Wave 4. Let me know down in the chat comments and stuff if you think that would be a good idea to delay Illuvium Beyond Wave 4. If you would be in favor of it or not, if you play Beyond, we'd love to hear your feedback, and we'll be talking about the community about this soon. What do you think, Taryn? Give the team extra time to work on things?
Yes.
While
I think a delay
makes
sense. A delay makes sense, but what you'd want to do is delay it with a set date in mind. So instead of saying, hey, we're coming out, just say, hey, we are going to delay it for XYZ reason, but the new set date is this. If you can do that at the same time, I think that's a nice middle ground. Like they need really, really positive sentiment with our products. They need an inflow of players. And I think that's when you go with Beyond. And if Kieran is right in when they start marketing, I don't know where the state of things are. If it's not April, it's probably May. But around that May mark, I think that's you do that, and then a couple of weeks after that, you come out with Wave 4. That is what I would do. But I'm just me. There's a bunch of other people that make those decisions. And I think it's definitely very important, and it sucks for the Beyond players. And it's tough. I don't know exactly what to do there, but I would say that the focus is on bringing in players and making sure that if we want to optimize for the result of Beyond, that we need to delay it.
Yeah, and I think the other problem we encountered was ADR and Beyond Wave 4 would be starting around the same time, which is really not a good thing. The Gentleman Geek asked a really good question. Do we know when the Overworld will come back? He hasn't been in the Discord lately. Hopefully end of March is my guess, but basically when all this fuel stuff is implemented. But I'm hoping it doesn't take them longer than 2 or 3 weeks. That's why it happened so late. They're making sure that all their ducks were in a row before they did all this. And like we can already see that it's ready to implement essentially, because a lot of it is on testnet right now. And so they're doing all the testing and stuff like that. And then they will reopen the Overworld when they implement it all on mainnet. So it's just one of those things, unfortunately. Immutable is not great. It is not very, very helpful. Okay. It's from Roger, where Fungivore brought up some really good points that the onboarding of the Illuvium Arena is not particularly good. Like, it doesn't have a crazy, robust tutorial. It's very complex and difficult to get into. And what Roger says here is that the learning curve for the game is fairly steep, and some games do feel a bit rushed. Like, the timers during the rounds are really, really tough for a new player. What he's saying is there are so many new changes coming that it's really hard to build out tutorials on those onboarding systems just yet, but it will become a high priority once the game has stopped. It's like shifting sands. Once the sands settle and you can actually walk on it without falling through, then you can start implementing all of those quality of life things. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it's a really important point. Okay, so another thing is Neil mentioned that there are multiple causes leading to the outcome of everyone trying to play the exact same thing every single game. Something you can never really perfectly mitigate, but we know that it's happening again in a too clear fashion. They have some changes that should help increase the late game carry pool. He also said that we want Bullbox and Empaths to become standalone powerhouses, something you can't really do right now. You can't really go 9 Bullbox. They just get stomped because they don't have enough DPS. Same with empaths, so that you don't always rely on a fighter, silent, or rogue to win a game. I think this is a really cool idea. I think it's important that you need to have a mix of a team. Like you need a tank, a carry, a healer. But at the same time, I like the idea of everything being able to support itself. For example, like Slashin is a rogue, but he's also a bulwark. And so he plays really well, but his starting synergy is a rogue. We don't really have anything like that in a bulwark, where they start off a bulwark and they turn into a fighter of some kind, except like Seer, maybe is probably the only one. So it might need more of that sort of stuff. But I'm looking forward to seeing what Neil comes up with there. The other one is the drone augments. When we played our game, Taryn, I got the Omnivamp drone augment 3 times and I put them all on. Neil says, at the moment, you can have the same drone augments twice and the effects stack. They will introduce rules for them, and as the pool expands with improved drone augments, the likelihood of duplicates will naturally decrease. Eventually, they'll eliminate the possibility of duplicate drone augments entirely, which I think is good. I think variety is important, and they definitely need to add way more options than they have right now. We just add to the replayability of the game so much. So the next one here is from Stuart, where he thinks you're missing the part where Perry said that we've significantly increased what you get in each run to balance out the changes in cost. And we'll get to that in just a second. He also says that with fuel, he expects a few more people to come and try Beyond. Oh, right, he's in Thingo. You should have said something.
Keep going. Sorry.
Stuart says, with fuel, a fair few more people will come and try Beyond, especially with Stripe payments, meaning players won't have to jump through the crypto hoops if they don't want to. I think this entire fuel system is going to make a huge difference to the entire Illuvium ecosystem. Okay, like let me just find that leak. There we go. Look at this right here. You can see in the top right-hand corner, you can see your currency clear as day, 1632 or whatever. You can spend that on Beyond. You could spend that on cosmetics, maybe inside the client even. You could spend it on automated drone runs to get new alluvials. You could spend it on the overworld to, I don't think Curing Shards has it anymore, but for Fusion, you would use this resource as well. Oh my God, it's going to change everything. And then you can use Stripe to just add money to your game. And I might even use that option sometimes. Like, that's probably even easier than me using Immutable X at this point. But you get the point. It's just so much better. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Okay, yeah. No, okay. No, in terms of the economy of it, like the transaction, the flow of transactions. Obviously, this is way better. The other thing, you had to try and balance Hyperion for this, Solon for that, and what about the demand? What about the necessity? It was just all over the place, and it's I won't say impossible to balance. Just very, very difficult. So obviously unifying it makes way more sense. There is a reason most games do this, and even most games that don't do this, they get criticized for having multiple types. I mean, we were talking about it with the Pokemon TCG. They have way too many currencies. I have no idea what half of them even do, to be honest. So keeping it simple with one, I love it. It makes sense. How they're going to balance that now with Zero and fuel production, I don't know. But definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I'll add on. I think simplicity is key if you want to sum it up. I think Illuvium at the start, we try to go too complex, too much, too many fuels, too many this, too many that. And I think if they didn't try that, then they wouldn't have known. But I think a lot of people from the community were screaming to say one fuel, simplify everything. And I guess now they're doing a lot of things, in my opinion, right. I just don't know if it's a little too late, but yeah, it's good to see that they're doing the one fuel thing. It's good to see that they're focusing on one game instead of 400 games. And yeah, I'm liking the direction they're going, and we'll see what happens. I think time will tell, as always.
Yeah, just jumping on the thing that you said, is it too little, too late? I do think that the next couple of months with Arena, if they can get it to a polished, and we've had this conversation behind the scenes as well, privately, Sam. Like, if they are able to get it polished, and they are, I wouldn't say close, they're much closer to being there than they were a couple months ago. If they do that, and I think the strategy for marketing with influencers, with the tournaments and everything like that, I think this is their chance. If they do this well, I can see it. I can see it gaining momentum very, very quickly, and in everything else they need to do.
But I just also think, like, from the community's perspective, it's like, oh, a couple more months or a couple more months. And I think we've been saying that for, a year plus, if not longer.
And I understand that.
Yeah. So I totally understand everyone just going, you know what, F this, I'm moving on, or, it's just more disappointing.
For sure.
So I get that more than anyone. I've been here as long as, I feel like all of us have been here for 3-4 years. And TSG, you worked with the Illuvium company, DAO. And I think that, they've still got like up to nearly 2 years runway, which is great. The way I've always seen it is I've always wanted it to be an MMO. And I wish that they listened to the community over a year ago to start implementing these things. But in the back of their minds, maybe that if they didn't try the auto battler, then they would never know and have been that what if moment. Now that they're putting all the resources in the auto battler, coming out somewhere between next month to 3 more months, whatever that sort of time frame will be. I just got finished playing a game. I hate auto battlers, and I absolutely love this because seeing things get, like, everything about it, I can understand if you would love the auto battler. If it fails and they do the whole marketing thing, spend a bunch of money, get the influencers in, and then it doesn't turn out the way that they're hoping, then I can also see a world where they're going to be like, oh, a couple more months, then the MMO light's ready, or the MMO is, which I think's always been the right direction. And I guess the only way to tell is do the auto battler. That might kick off. TFT players might come over, and it might just skyrocket, and everyone must fall in love with it, and then it just gains traction, and then we can all shut up because we were wrong, like whoever's on sort of my boat. So I'm excited to see what happens. It's a long time coming to see the auto battler actually have a nice, good product that has a good loop and everything else. Will people spend? Not really sure. But then I'm more focused on the MMO Lite because that's getting me excited. Never that maybe in 6 months.
I've said this to you as well, Sam. Like, I genuinely think that this next phase isn't about anyone looking for revenue distribution. I don't know if that is the goal. I think it's about user acquisition. The main goal for the next 3 to 6 months is polish the game, acquire users. Even if we are at a net loss during that period, if we can acquire users and prove to everyone, to the gaming industry, to VCs that, hey, we have the ability to make a game, we have the ability to bring people in, we have the ability to retain those players and generate some of that revenue, that's a great position to be in. And it's very, very different from where we are right now. So Absolutely. I think if they're able to do that, fantastic. If they're not, I'm not going to say it's game over for them, but it is going to be a tougher ride.
Absolutely. Will players stick around? That is the $1 million question. Because if they do, then Illuvium have a really good spot. And
I will say, sorry. So I'll just say this one more thing. Sorry, you shouldn't have brought Sam on. Now we'll just cut you out. In terms of making players stay, we've shown before that we were able to bring players in. We did that at launch. We did have over 100,000 players during that month to actually play the game. Whether how many of them were bots and things, I can't really say. But regardless, there was 100,000 people participating. I don't know what that looked like. But the issue that we saw was not bringing them in. It was keeping them in. And that's a product issue.
Absolutely.
We know the team is able to bring them in. That's a thing that's doable. It's can they keep them? And if they can, and I think, like I say, from what I've been playing more of Arena. I feel like it's getting closer and closer. But they need to make sure that it's on point before they pull the trigger on that. Because if it's not, that
Will people come back to play the auto battler? Say the relaunch is in 2 months. Do you think the people, like majority of Web3 community still, let's be honest, and maybe a couple of Web2, but do you think the auto battler fixes will bring all those people back? All right, I'll give it another try. Or do you reckon they're all just waiting for the MMO or something like that?
If it was me, this would be my strategy. I wouldn't try and bring back the people in Web3 because most of them, and cool, I'd put out like the leaderboard rewards and I do a little bit of effort there. But that's not who the target audience is. I'll go directly to the TFT guys and make it a super concentrated campaign at TFT and auto battler players. Because a lot of those guys, I mentioned it previously on, I don't know if it was in one of these, but anyway, I was speaking to some of the TFT guys that had 500 live viewers, which in TFT is relatively decent. It goes 12,000, 3,000, or 5,000. It drops off really, really quickly. So 500 is not a bad amount. His problem when he spoke to me was it's hard to get monetized. You're one of the bigger TFT guys, and it's hard for you to get monetized. So if we have a solid product that is able to retain them and have earning potential, that is who we want. They are the people that are willing to come over, even if it's playing a couple of hours a day, rather than doing 100%. Let's say they do 80% of TFT, come in and play us for 20%. That's still better than where we're at now. And I think we have a much higher chance of getting those and keeping those guys than Web3 guys. Because Web3 people aren't keen on order back.
Web3 want money. Web3 people just want money. They don't care about anything except money. You might get a few stragglers that care about certain IPs, like I care about Illuvium, Scoriox does as well. Then if you go to Pirate Nation or any other game or Axie, people are very emotionally connected to those games. But majority of Web3 players, they just want to come and make money.
My hot take is that Arena doesn't have anything right now to retain either player base. Okay, let's say the game is incredible and really, really fun to play. It won't matter. You don't actually have something to hold on to. You can play 10 hours a day, but you're not actually gaining literally anything. And players won't you can rank up a bit, but it's not quite enough. I know Illuvium's working on one, but it needs to be implemented before any sort of marketing is some sort of battle pass or leveling up system and that sort of stuff, or some sort of prestige system has to be in there, especially for Web3 players, but really even more for Web2 players. It has to be in there. But I was just going to say, it's really funny you guys mentioned the too little, too late thing, because did you guys see the Axie Infinity trailer that dropped the other day?
Yeah, I'm so happy. To be fair, I'm so happy for them. That's so awesome. That's awesome.
But that's so funny. Illuvium started its journey being like, "Oh, Axie Infinity didn't make a very good game. We can do better than them." And then we kind of flopped it a little bit with the Overworld, and we were like, "Oh, well, we're still ahead of Axie Infinity with all this stuff. Oh, we're going to build an MMO light." A month later, Axie Infinity drops an MMO. And it's just everything's come this full circle, but it's quite poetic, quite interesting. I think Axie is cool. They're going to bring a lot of players back to Web3.
What would happen if the gaming cycle kicks off again because of this MMORPG from Axie? How wild would that be?
That would not shock me.
It wouldn't shock me either. But I saw the trailer of it. It's a 3-minute trailer. It's very clean. It's very Axie. It's hard not to see people wanting to try. It's just fun. They don't talk about anything else, but just it looks like a really good, fun, great game. I think Pixels will absolutely get hammered with it because they'll lose a lot of player base because I think it's very similar.
Pixels 99% bots, dude. It doesn't matter.
But to be fair, they still made a shitload of money as well for their battle pass. But you're 100% right. Back to your point, Scoriox, is they need a battle pass. I assume TFT has some sort of leveling system as well. Otherwise, people aren't going to care. I don't think. And I'm pretty sure Illuvium is smart enough that this is their last chance to do with the auto battle relaunch, because then people just get sick of it. So I assume that they'll have everything close enough to perfect to launch. Otherwise, they would just wait an extra couple of weeks or months, because there's no harm in just waiting a little bit longer if they need to anyway. Everyone's waited long enough, so I think they need to do this one 100% correct and nothing. Keep the risk to a minimum to capitalize as much as you possibly can.
I 100% agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really important. I need to go register for the Axie Infinity thing still, so I'll do that at some point.
Message Geos.
It's this weird deterrent though, because I kind of want to try it. I'm not a big MMO guy, but I kind of wanted to try it. But at the same time, I don't own any Axies. I don't really want to buy an Axie. I don't have the money for it right now, so I don't know how that's going to play with this stuff.
Not that expensive anymore.
I literally just logged into my Ronin wallet 2 weeks ago to clean up all my wallets and everything, and I had 200 Axies or something, which I think I spent over $100,000 or something on them back in the day, and they're just sitting there. I think I got $500 back for them. So
you should have sent me one.
I still got 70 somewhere. I'm trying to sell them all for whatever, because I'm just cleaning up my wallets. But yeah,
I'll give you $10 for a lucky dip.
Mate, you can keep your $10 and take the lucky dip yourself.
All right, so let's jump into the last few topics here. The first one is the fuel conversion rate. So Dr. Spoon says here that the fuel conversion is at an 89-to-1 fuel conversion rate. Now, we need to clarify two things really quickly. The fuel, the USD value you're going to get back after the conversion is 1-to-1. If you currently have $1 worth of fuel, you are going to get $1 worth of fuel in this new system. What's really changing is the price and purchasing power of the things you can spend it on. So if a run costs $1 now, it might cost $89 after the conversion, I suppose it would be the way to think about it. And so the runs are getting more expensive, overall. Why this is?
I'll just say this: I see Sam thinking the thing is, Sam, right now a run doesn't cost $1; it costs like 1 cent. So it goes
pretty
to
much.
89 cents.
I understand now. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sam's just like, yo, wait, what the?
I'm like, they're fucked up again.
runs are dirt cheap right now, which is part of the problem. Anyway, so this rectifies all that, but part of the reason it wasn't supposed to go up 89 times in a certain sense. What was agreed on with the Council and Perrier stuff was 25% of the upper rail, which ends up at a stage 3 run at like $3, but it's actually going to be 3 times that around abouts. But the reason for that is because the alluvial value is getting changed up, because the alluvial is going to become a little more frequent to make the game more enjoyable. So instead of finding a ramfire every 100 adventures in the overworld, that's going to be more like 15 or 20 adventures in the overworld. You're going to find them way more frequently, and the entire thing's been rebalanced, which is causing this 89 to 1. People are discussing on whether this should be right or wrong. I haven't really the discussion was pretty standard, just mostly them asking Perry questions and Perry answering them like an absolute champion. He is championing this proposal, so a lot of this does go through him. But yeah, so there's a lot happening, but really I'm in the camp that we go through with all this. I think it all looks fine. It'll be the biggest part of this will be if people are enjoying playing the game with all these updates. If people say, no, I'd rather it be cheaper and us find worse stuff in the overworld, then I'd be open to writing a proposal and things and changing up the pricing manually after a month or so of testing the waters and stuff like that. I don't think there needs to be any rush into this sort of thing. We could take our time and adjust it as we might need. The biggest thing for me is sticker shock. I definitely think it's easier to spend $1 100 times than $10 10 times or whatever it is. But at the same time, there is a $1 option where you can do a stage 1 run. I think the stage 2 run is $1.80 or $2 or something. And the stage 3 run is like $9. And then there's the ADR as well. So there are so many options for different players. I don't think it's that big of a deal. And I think the anchoring and the messaging should be centered around the stage 2 run, which is a very good price point and probably a very good experience of the overworld, where stage 3 run is probably more like a sped up version of the overworld, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if it's 1-to-1 in terms of the dollar, that makes sense. But actually, there's a bunch more variables that we.
I think the prices should just stay the same. They shouldn't fluctuate.
These won't. The unified fuel proposal, that's the big thing, is they won't fluctuate.
Good. Thank you.
But if there was an IIP to change it, then it could change. But it's not.
No, whoever does that IIP, I will fly to your house and have a big conversation with you.
He'll sell the axes to fund the flight.
Just keep things simple. Stop messing with shit. Illuvium has the strongest and one of the best IPs I've ever seen in all of business.
Yeah.
It definitely needs to be simplified. Okay. The next thing is I've got this little grok button. Explain this post. Should I do it?
No, man. Just
step into the wild. Brightland steps whip in breach. We already saw this video. I forgot about that. But a very, very nice video. I can get more of these. That little thing in the bottom left is really neat too. Love to see that. The next thing we've got is Anubis won first place in the Dreamer Esports tournament. It was a part of an incredibly competitive event. Really huge congrats. Winnie came second. Alnert came third. I haven't seen those three as a top 3 before ever. I know Anubis has come second and third a lot of times, so it's really cool to see him coming first in this tournament. And Winnie, I don't think I've ever seen him in the top 3, so congrats to him as well. He might have been. I might be misremembering that. But huge congrats to these 3 players. Did a very good job. And the next thing we've got is an unpopular opinion from Sam Withers. I didn't expect you to come on. So I
was going to say, did you set this up? Right.
He says, as expected, the team absolutely delivered. The speed, UI, special effects, everything is 10x better. Now here's his unpopular take. IOV is poised for
this guy is a master of clickbait, you know.
With a growing player base and increased in-game spending, but not until Q3 2025, in Sam's personal opinion. If they get this right, once all these updates are fully implemented, let's see. Sam is bullish on Illuvium.
No, but okay, hang on. With context, to be fair with you. I don't think, like I just said before, they have the best IP, in my opinion, by a substantial margin on so many factors, and the team and everything else, blah, blah, blah. But if they nail this MMO, high graphic player base, everything that they need to, all their connections, put it all in, go crazy, don't even care about the price of the Illuvium token, right? I can just see a snowball effect that people could fall in love with this really easy. I don't think it'll happen until the MMO Lite. I think in my opinion, I think the auto battle will be like this and like get a bit of vibe and stuff and then sort of die down again. And then I think when they start doing the MMO Lite, pushing that out, and that'll probably coincide with the bull run still for the last final months of the end of this year, maybe start of next year, and then it's over. But I feel like that's where people want to come over and play. We all want that MMO Lite. We all want that Pokemon.
I'm actually pretty sure that's why we all came in. Like all of us.
That's 100% why we all
came in.
came in.
All of us came in for that reason. Yeah.
And to be fair to Illuvium, they never said they were going to do that. They did say this is an auto battler, and then that was like a happy-go-lucky hack opening.
Glorified.
Yeah, but if they like World of Warcraft and all that, like that sort of stuff, it's outdated in my opinion now with like graphics and whatnot. Illuvium just, I don't know. I remember playing Overworld for the first time in July last year, and my mate was playing it, and it was phenomenal. Yeah. Like, because we didn't know what was going to happen. We went through the steps, and I'm like, this is amazing. You can see all the Illuvials. And then I was just picturing in my head, imagine fighting these and then capturing them and all that sort of stuff. If they could deliver that by ASAP, like always, then I'm super excited for Illuvium. That's why I did that little bit bullish post. But again, I'm very hesitant because I've sort of dropped off a little bit in the fact that I'm like, I'm so over these disappointing results and things aren't going that way. And to build something as big as they've built, it takes ages and a lot of money. But we will see. We will see. It's probably the only thing I can say.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to, like, there's a lot of things to be excited for. I'm looking forward to what the game directors come up with in terms of the new Overworld and stuff like that, or the MMO Lite. So I think that's exciting. I don't know how long it's going to take them to build some of this stuff. Like, I would have thought they would have been able to upgrade the arena so much faster.
Sorry, Scoriox. Once they get settled in, you need to speak to Dick and bring them on for a little bit of an AMA.
I would love to. That would be a lot of fun.
I want to harass them and ask them questions of what they're thinking.
Sam would love to come on for that AMA, I bet.
I will be here, 100%.
I'll sit out. I'll watch it from
Hey, what do you guys think about Illuvium giving their IP or their assets to other people to build out some fun things? What are your thoughts on this? I think it's a great idea.
Sam's not biased at all. No, I think it's a good idea. I think it's fine.
Like, there's no downside.
Like, what's someone going to do? Steal our IP and build a game that's bigger than Illuvium? I mean, who cares? It just promotes the overall brand. It's like, it's like how, what's a good example? I don't want to use the Tate Brothers as an example, but they just like let everyone post their snippets and stuff because it promotes them. You know what I mean?
But
okay,
also,
TSJ, what's the downside?
The downside is the potential degradation of your brand. And what I mean by that is, if someone makes a game, uses our assets, they think we're affiliated by them, it ends up being a rug pull and a scam, that makes us look very, very bad. And a lot of people can tie us up, even by association.
Yeah,
so that's the biggest risk.
Totally agree. But what if there's an NDA, they do their vetting process and everything else, and that the team won't release anything unless they get the all okay from the Illuvium team? What are your thoughts on that then?
No, for sure. Like, I think things like that make sense. I think, of course, things like that make sense. But I just wanted to say, like, when we go around and say, oh, there's no downside, objectively, there is. Objectively, there is. We just got to be careful with that.
Yeah, I think strategic partnerships are the most valuable for sure.
Yeah, if you do it properly, there is a lot of upside to it. Again, it could bring in players. There's a lot of things that it could do. But again, the downside is quite extreme. So
the only problem is you need to get labs involved with managing that quality of partners sort of a thing. And if that slows down Illuvium too much, that's a little bit of a pain. But yeah, I think it's good. Especially if you can cover off different genres. I think that's the big thing. Like, if we lend it out to someone else to make an auto battle, that would be pointless, obviously. TCG might even be a bit too close, but lots of different things, yeah.
What about like a quick dungeon raid sort of game? Or what game would you like to see? Because I can tell you right now, I could produce something in about 2.5 weeks as a draft and have it finished in 4 to 8 weeks with a guy who does 20 years of development in Unity and gaming and everything else. 12 years in Unity, sorry.
There are tons of adjacent genres I think would be really good. Super Smash Brothers, I think, as a genre.
That's fucked. It's not Super Smash Brothers as a genre. That's a platform fighter.
You know what I mean?
But also,
but you need to make a lot of moves and a lot more.
That's
add a lot of work.
Very difficult. The animations, that's a very difficult
What genre would you want to see?
Survival genre. You've got Brotato and like simple things like that. Like you say, a Diablo West top-down dungeon crawler. There are things like that which I don't think they're not easy, not overly difficult, but I would say tower defense. Those are the
tower
the
defense I could
simplified-
get behind. I would love a tower
Those are the
defense.
simplified
Scoriox
kind of
Earth
things.
is perked up there, like a tower defense.
Yeah.
Well,
Scoriox.
I'm going to start building my game later this year, but I'm just going to be building all tactics games. So if you want to do a tactics,
Yeah, tactics games. Yeah, like there are a lot of like genre. What I would say for this is it's actually very, very important. Not important. It'd be a good idea to look at what's popping off in Japan, because a lot of those games aren't AAA high fidelity, and those guys just game for the sake of gaming. If you can find out what's popping off over there, I think that's where you can find a lot of inspiration for low fidelity, high quality games, high engagement games that could be implemented relatively quickly.
what about Illuvium Gacha?
Is that not what Beyond is? Is that not what Illuvium is as a whole?
No,
Is that what Overworld?
full idle gacha on the phone.
Oh,
Full gacha.
I don't know.
Like
But
Star Wars
there's some of
Galaxy
the things that I'd be
Heroes.
looking at.
Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, but Illuvium would actually like pop off. Okay. So the Going Hyper episode actually went live today. We could see a little bit of Rich and Jackson playing Breach. It was really funny because Rich has played it a bunch of times. Jackson's first time, and Rich got absolutely wrecked because Jackson is just a way better gamer. And it was so funny to watch.
Is Rich even a gamer though? Someone clip this and send it to him.
You don't need to send it to him. He knows.
He knows. He knows.
Let's skip it forward a bit. But yeah, I really hope a battle pass sort of thing comes to Illuvium before we start going down the marketing route, because I think it's like incredibly important.
That's a need. That's a necessity, I would say.
But it's
By
one of
the
those
way,
things
what do
you
you
have to
guys-
maintain too. You have to have
true.
a new battle pass track every month. Even if it's simple,
absolutely.
even if you have an easy way to do it, there needs to be something.
What's your thoughts on Breach and what you want them to do with it? Like, is it something you want to just keep while the lobbies are waiting because we don't have any player base? Do you want to see them release it? Do you think it'll just be an in-house thing or like a bit of fun? What do you guys think? What should they do with Breach?
I think it'd be fun while you're waiting in a lobby. I think that'd be hilarious. But hopefully we have enough players that they won't actually be necessary. So it's kind of like a very temporary solution to probably a short-term problem. I don't know. It just doesn't look that fun without being a complete game. Like it'd be fun once or twice, but until it has its own progression systems and all this other sort of stuff, it's not actually that good of a game. Yeah, but I hope they because they've got combat here. I just hope they throw combat into the overworld. That's really what I want.
Yeah, I would love.
And multiplayer. Just throw multiplayer and combat into the overworld. That'll tide us over till the MMO Lite.
It really wouldn't though. I'm very much
like maybe for a day, day and a half, maybe, and then we're like, okay, we're ready.
But if because it bugs the crap out of me because levels are still going to be relevant in Leviathan, and so now I have zero interest to play Leviathan. So they've got to add some way to make leveling not unbearable. Combat in the overworld is one way in a certain sense, but burning alluvials to levels would be good, or increasing arena XP. I think that's important.
Fair.
Otherwise, Leviathan's dead to me. I think it's ridiculous.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, could you be bothered leveling things up to past level 50, let's say?
Didn't they? Wait, so is it confirmed that levels are going to matter?
It was in the recent patch notes. So
25,
you'll get a 25% boost from stats. So if you have max stats, you get 25%. And from levels, it'll be 25% as well. So
yeah,
level
but you need
40
that, right?
alluvial.
Sorry. You need that to pretty much encourage people to go to the overworld, spend money, and that's sort of the loop. So
no, but they can spend money. They could spend money on ADR now. So if you're interested in playing
ADR?
Automated drone runs.
Oh, you've already abbreviated it. Wow. Okay.
So if you're just interested in the auto battler and not the overworld, now you're literally fucked. And so why would you? I mean, you can engage with the ranked gauntlet, no Leviathan and stuff. Great, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just need player base to make sure people aren't bored.
Get good 1K hours. I get it, Reem. I get it. I don't think levels should be removed from Leviathan. I think it's important that you have this sense of ownership and collection with your assets and bringing them into Leviathan. I think that's all great. The typing should allow TSG. But I think the leveling shouldn't be ridiculously painful. That is it. I just think they need to add new systems and new ways to be able to engage with that for those who want to play Leviathan. That's really it. It's a symptom of a deeper problem. That's all.
But the leveling system is broken anyway, right? Like you can get to level 20 and then it like slows right down all of a sudden, and then you get to 40 and then it slows right down again. It's not like a nice progression like World of Warcraft.
From 40,
I haven't leveled up any of my Illuvium, so
from 40 to 50, it's not too bad. From 50 to 60, it is a slog. It is brutal.
It's not a nice progression. It doesn't make any sense.
No, and now it's like really fast because of the way auto battles are set up. You can like jump from like 1 to 30 in like a single battle.
Yeah, so it's just not balanced. It's not balanced at all.
But then it's really weird after that. All right. So is there anything else you guys want to wrap up with before we jump off today's stream?
Meetastro.ai. Thanks.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
I'm telling you, whoosh.
Don't forget to use my referral code as well, especially if you're going to be doing automated drone runs. I really appreciate it.
Idea.
Yeah, I'm not gonna sell you on anything, guys. I'm just happy to be here.
Karen says to go play Playable's ecosystem, play Nexus, download on Epic Games.
Yeah, relax.
All right, with that, the download is complete. Have a good one, guys.